This was one of my first videos I ever did. It was in the garage. It was 90-something degrees, so bear with me a little bit on the video. I tried giving you all the info I could. And after the video, I'm going to go through 2 or 3 things that I did to this that weren't in the video that truly makes it the ultimate LiveScope mount. So today is not going to be a fishing video. Today we're going to do a little self-help or a how-to video. Part of the boat. But anyways, to get on with this, what you're going to need is you are going to need a fiberglass or a composite shaft. This one's a standard Minn Kota shaft. It's 60 inches long. I don't know what kind of boat you'll be putting it on, so you will have to judge how far under the water you want it, and then how far above the deck that you want to reach down so you can turn it. So that'll be your total shaft length. But when you order your shaft, or preferably use an old junk shaft from a motor that died that you still have in your garage and you save some money, add about another 6 to 10 inches for a handle. Okay, this is the actual handle that I had made that was on my kayak. I broke it off, and I'm going to reuse this handle on this new shaft, which is great because it saved me a lot of work. And I'll go over how this yellow came to be and stuff later on when I actually mount it to the shaft. So you'll need enough shaft length to go down above the deck, and this. For my boat, that's a 60-inch shaft, and then I had this spare piece, so you know you can get a 72-inch shaft. You're going to need a standard motor mount. Of course, it was another project, and I just happen to hang on to it, and now I'm going to cut a little bit of it up, but the main part for the stow and deploy is what I want. So we'll modify this a little bit to fit the deck, but the shaft, just like a trolling motor, is going to go through here. You will need a collar. The little lock collars that come standard on the trolling motor shaft will do. This was part of another kit that I had, so I'm just going to use that. To secure the handle later, you're going to need some, this is JB Weld, but any kind of epoxy you wish. Of course, you're going to need a LiveScope because you can build the shaft, but it's not going far without the LiveScope. And a table. I'm going to use the small piece so I don't have to hold the 60-inch shaft. So what we're going to have is we're going to have the cord for this LiveScope inside the shaft. That way, there's not twist ties on the outside, and how am I going to spin it if the shaft's on the outside? So the cord's going on the inside, and that's pretty much what this is about, how to get the cord on the inside. So here's your LiveScope unit, and here's the end plug. So the end plug is a little bigger than your 1 1/8 inch shaft, and that creates a problem. You can't get it through the shaft hole, which is about 3/4, 7/8 thick, and it won't go through here. Creates another problem. So let's start with this on how to get the cord through a standard Minn Kota mount. So there's a sleeve inside each Minn Kota mount, and when you tighten this, it crunches down on this little pin and crushes the sleeve. But the sleeve isn't solid. It's just what it is. It's a little piece, and it pops out, and it's a sleeve, and it's got a slot in it. But now that you take out that sleeve, let me take out the bottom sleeve here, makes it easier. That way I can show you. Okay, so the bottom sleeve, now your wire will go right through. To ripping the first part, this cord's a 1/4 inch thick. So I need a 1/4 inch rip through this fiberglass shaft, all right? This fiberglass shaft is tough. I did make a mark here. From here up, we're not going to rip anything. This is just going to be solid shaft. From here down, I will have a 1/4 inch, some people would call it a rabbit, but a groove all the way through. And that's how we're going to put our cord in. The blade's only an 1/8 inch thick, and I need to cut a 1/4 inch out, so I'm going to be making 2 cuts. I put an old junk shirt on, put a pair of glasses on. If it flies, you don't want fiberglass in your face. You probably should have a mask on, but I'm going to tough it out because it's 95 degrees and humid as heck. 2 cuts. And we're going to cut from the bottom end, which is the threaded end, up to a certain point where I marked. Okay, that's a pretty good straight cut. I'm just going to twist it the 1/4 inch. Okay, so we're done, and we actually have a very nice channel, and that's what I'm looking for, channel, all the way up. And let's just see if the cord fits in there. If not, I'll have to go the 16th. Anyways, now we got to put the handle on. So first you got to make the handle before we work on this piece. So for this I used epoxy resin, and I just took some tape and put it around it. I filled it up, and then I basically sanded it so it's a nice round shape, and that's the pointing end. And this side I put tape around it, filled it with epoxy, and then the yellow is the dipping dye. All right, so that was that. By the way, stuff a cotton ball, or I used a little teeny piece of foam down here, because you don't need to fill the whole thing up with epoxy, just a little bit, just to create your end. That's above and beyond. You don't have to do this to make a fancy handle. I just kind of wanted a nice little round, hey, pointy end. Obviously you know which way it's going anyways, because your shaft is, or your handle is going to be longer on this side than this side. I took a tap, and I just drilled and tapped a thread in there. So later on, when I show you how to attach this, you'll know why. So to make this sit on here properly, like a normal pipe joint, we have to cut a U in this. So I did forget to tell you that one of the tools we'll need is a drill press. This is a 1 1/8 inch bit. This is a 1 1/8 inch shaft. I have it set up so this will just rest right against it, and when I punch it out, I'll punch out a nice little half moon shape. So when we do this, I want the slice we put in the shaft, okay, either on the bottom or on the top. It doesn't matter right now. It will matter when you put the handle on. Okay, so that's all lined up. You don't have to take a lot off. The less you take off, the better. So basically, I'm going to take off half a bit, okay, maybe a hair more. And that's it. And I forgot to put a block of wood under the bottom, and I just ate into my base. Don't do that. Okay, so when you're done cutting it, oh, and by the way, when you use the bit, don't have this comes with a drill in the middle. Take the drill part out. You don't need it. It won't work with it. So when you're done, it's going to look like this. It's going to be a little half moon, and then on this side will look like a little top. But your handle now fits perfectly in there. Okay, and that's what it'll look like from the side. And if I had the handle on the way it's supposed to go. So now all we got to do is I'm going to put a little piece of foam in here, and I'll screw it. I'm going to put this type of screw in. It's just doesn't have to be stainless steel. This will never get wet, but it'll just be a couple of threads, and this will go in here, and it will be embedded with epoxy. So the next piece of the puzzle is your mount. If you're going to transom mount it, you're done. You don't have to do anything to it. Mine's bow mounted, so we're going to cut off this section right here. I'm just going to do that with a handsaw, and then I'll be able to lay this down on a piece of, I'm going to use starboard. Let me cut this off and get to town. Okay, so I cheated. It's very hot. I started off with the handsaw. I was like, you know what? Let me get my jigsaw. So, got to cut off. Okay, so I broke out the palm sander just to make sure the ends were very level. So everything's nice and good. This is what it should look like when it's done. Okay, so I had a piece of leftover 1 foot by 1 foot 1/4 inch starboard. I ripped it to length or width, and it actually worked out nice because I do need about 1 foot long. So this fits perfect under here now, and it's just a question of how I'm going to mount it. So originally I was hoping this would be big enough and I would just put the screws through here to the deck, done. But we have to use this, and I kind of thought I might, but I was hoping I wouldn't, but I do. first thing we're going to do is you're going to put the connector through. So this is a puzzle. It kind of has to be done like this. So the connector needs to go through the unit first. Now we're going to put the connector over the collar. So the collar doesn't fit over the connector. This is a single piece collar, okay, and it just has a slit and it's a compression. There's other kind of collars you can use. This is basically a handlebar ram mount. And if you cut the ball off, now you have a two-piece collar. So you can use these two. And I might be using this if my plan doesn't work out. So what we're going to do is I'm going to put this in the vise. We're going to stretch this open so I can fit the cable through. Okay, so I stretched it out, the cable went through the collar, and now we have the collar that goes over. So this will go around the shaft, and this is what's going to keep your shaft at a certain height so it doesn't slip down through the fitting. The mount is in the vise. I got a little overzealous. I started putting the cable in now. Now that the cable's in, I can put the collar on. Now right here, this is a threaded collar. But once it gets past the threads, it'll just slide up the shaft, no problem. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to continue to pull the cable through the shaft until the very end, and I will pull it all the way until the transducer is right here. Okay, I have it almost pulled through all the way. Now I'm going to put my collars on. Now the collars are no problem because they're split in two. Oop. Okay, the collars are on. Now we'll just put the pipe through. There we go. And as you can see, the transducer is coming up now. The wire coming out up here. So I'm just going to pull the cable through up a little bit, and then we'll be able to mount it. And we'll have about this much cable showing. We have to cut out our little insert. This is going to just be an insert. We're going to tuck in here and we'll crazy glue it in place. We don't have to do the entire shaft, just, you know, here and there, just so the cable doesn't come out if the slot was too big. We're going to do this first. I'm going to just start off at a 1/4 inch, and actually I'm going to cut a couple of test pieces out of this junk section. So this morning, before I started the camera, I ripped 2 of the pieces that we're going to use to fill up that 1/4 inch gap. The head, this is all nice and level. I have the end on a box, and the only thing I have to do right now is just tighten this down and mount it on the boat. So let's just snug this down. I have a small piece of this under here so I don't crush the fiberglass. And the only thing we have left now is to pop these in, and we'll put just a 1 drop of crazy glue, you know, every couple inches. Okay, now that the end's all tightened up, we're just going to slide the collar up, basically as high as it'll go, and we're just going to rest it against the cable, and we'll tighten the collar up. If you have a different type of collar, hey, whatever you're doing, you know, tighten it up appropriately. Okay, so the collar's set. So now this will be nice in reach, and you can go anywhere you want. When you put the handle on, again, ensure that the slot is at least kind of behind you. So we have a finished product, transducer, mount, deploy, and go. Plain and simple, and I hope you enjoyed the build. I'm going to show you some pictures after it's installed, or a brief video. So I added a nice little mount. It's just out of HDPE, it's 3/4 inch, and I screwed them all together, sanded it down so it looks like a nice block. So the second thing I did was add something to this transom mount where it doesn't click into a position every time, or you have to hold that button down the whole way. Put 2 pieces of 1/8 inch plastic that I made into a curve, and there's 3 screws on each side, and you're seeing that picture now. And what that enables you to do is, now when you lift it up, okay, you pull the trigger, you lift it up, and then you do not have to hold this lever anymore. So here it is one more time, deploying and stowing this unit. So the first thing you do is loosen this little knob, because that locked my shaft into place just like it would be a trolling motor. You loosen that, you press the button, well, I slide it out, then I press the button, lift it up, and it's done. Then you just snug down your little knob over here, which puts tension on the shaft so it doesn't spin freely. If you don't, it spins a little too easy, so you just tighten it up to where you like it, and it stays in a position. To stow it, loosen up the little knob so you can lift it up a little bit, press the button, and pull in, okay? Lock it in place, and you are done. A third feature I added was my initial plate. My initial plate, I made it, was a 1/4 inch piece of HDPE. I think in the video you'll see I added another plate later. I put a little comment there, but I just put 2 pieces, so if you buy it, get yourself a 1/2 inch piece. That's it. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you build one yourself. Let me know what you think. And other than that, you guys take care. Have a great day.